The NFL does not like what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, so we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Kansas City Chiefs news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is the Kansas City Chiefs may have a bigger problem on their hands against the Bills this week. The Kansas City Chiefs could be getting injured linebacker Nick Bolton back just in time after they lost his replacement, Drew Tranquill, and several other key players to injuries during last week's loss to the Green Bay Packers. Tranquill was still in the concussion protocol on Wednesday when the Chiefs resumed preparation for Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. But Coach Andy Reid said that Bolton would continue to practice after they open the 21-day window in which they must decide whether to activate him or put him on season-ending injured reserve. Bolton has been out since having surgery for a dislocated wrist sustained during a Week 7 win over the Los Angeles Chargers. Nick is a great player, a significant impact player, Chiefs defensive end Mike Dana said. Just having his presence back there is going to be huge for us. The Chiefs also lost starting safety Brian Cook to what appeared to be a significant ankle injury in Green Bay, though most of the tests on it have revealed encouraging results. Reid called it a sprain and said that he was still being evaluated. Mike Edwards and rookie Shamari Connor are likely to replace Cook in the lineup. On the opposite side of the ball, the Chiefs are preparing to play without left tackle Donovan Smith because of a neck stinger, and they are unsure whether running back Isaiah Pacheco will be available because of a bruised shoulder. Pacheco ran 18 times for 110 yards and a touchdown against the Packers. If he is unable to play against the Bills, the Chiefs would lean on Clyde Edwards-Helaire and potentially Jerick McKinnon, who returned to practice Wednesday after a groin injury. Wanya Morris, a third-round pick in April's draft, played well in Smith's place against the Packers. He had been earning a few spot reps even before the injury, and that left him prepared to take over when Smith had to leave the game. "Your preparation should never change," Morris said Wednesday. "I just have to make sure I'm focused on the details." Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes certainly has faith in his backup blindside protector. "He's played well. If you watch the tape, he's done a great job in the run game and the pass game," Mahomes said. "And I think now it's about getting him prepared for a great defensive line. As far as playing the position, he's done a good job." Mahomes was chosen as the Chiefs' nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award this week. "It's amazing, the group and fraternity of guys that have come before me that have won that award," he said. "It's got to be hard to pick. There's so many guys that do so much for the community. I'm just glad I was able to be honored in that group." The second story is Kansas City Chiefs' new reality finds them in the mix instead of leading the pack. Remember when the Kansas City Chiefs would lay an egg and have it be followed by classic football cliches, only for no one to put stock into them? Growing parity in the NFL, needing to take care of the football, not being able to make mistakes and still beat good teams, the little things mattering? At the end of the day, they didn't seem to be that important. Andy Reid's team could overcome all obstacles. If there's one thing that a Week 13 loss to the Green Bay Packers reiterated, it's that this year's Chiefs team isn't cut from that same cloth. Think about the 4 losses Kansas City has had this season. Against the Detroit Lions in the season opener, dropped passes and absences led to a 1-point loss. In Week 8, going 0 for 3 in the red zone and turning the ball over 5 times sealed their fate on the road versus the Denver Broncos. Just a few weeks ago, the Chiefs lost the turnover battle to the Philadelphia Eagles and flopped on 50% of their red zone possessions. On Sunday night, the same thing happened. That goes without mentioning things like untimely penalties, run blocking, pass protection, poor execution in route running, and more. The list goes on. And it goes to show that a team with Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce still can't get out of its own way some 13 weeks into the 2023-24 season. Notice how the defense wasn't brought up? That's because until Sunday's 382-yard, 27-point allowance, it was still performing as a consistently elite unit. Despite its struggles in run support, Steve Spagnuolo's group leaves Week 13 ranked 4th in dropback EPA allowed and 3rd in points surrendered per game. Barring this new reality becoming a trend, the defense isn't the problem or even a problem. Speaking of new reality, it's time to face one for this version of the Chiefs. Instead of leading the pack and being rightful odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl, they're merely one of the good teams in the mix. They've been trying to show the world that ever since the season began. Don't get it twisted. Kansas City, as always with Mahomes under center, is capable of winning it all. Wins over the Jacksonville Jaguars and Miami Dolphins displayed that the team can hang with some of the AFC's better clubs. There's no perfect team in the conference. There may not be one in the League U. The Philadelphia Eagles aren't fielding the same product as last year, and they just got blown out by a San Francisco 49ers squad that had a 3-game losing streak to close out the month of October. Other playoff-caliber opponents, Detroit, the Baltimore Ravens, the Dallas Cowboys, either haven't been there recently or have shown that they can't be trusted. Of all the years the Chiefs picked to be severely flawed, this seems to be the best one. It's entirely possible that a franchise with an all-time great talent at quarterback sees its season end in major disappointment. For example, consider the Chiefs' Sunday night opponent and look back over the last decade. Despite having Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay had multiple campaigns with solid regular season success, but their flaws getting exposed come playoff time. Even the Tom Brady-era New England Patriots had down years where they made the playoffs but couldn't accomplish their end goal. Not every year can or will result in a championship. Failure is inevitable. This isn't a premature obituary for the 2023 Chiefs, but rather a friendly reminder of what's possible. Less than a calendar year ago, the buzz was centered around Mahomes winning an AFC championship game on a high ankle sprain while throwing to players like Marcus Kemp. It was centered around him powering the Chiefs through a double-digit point comeback in Super Bowl LVIY. Just because Kansas City overcame adversity in the past, however, doesn't mean they should be locks to do so again. This isn't the same team. Mahomes isn't playing at the level he did in 2022 or even in January and February of this year. Kelsey is a year older, and it's showing. The offensive tackle situation is murky at best. The wide receivers are objectively worse now. While the Chiefs' defensive improvement is an amazing storyline that could carry the team come playoff time, the offense is what it is. A sloppy, inconsistently consistent group. That isn't changing. Take this. Something Reid said entering Week 3 of this season into consideration. There are small margins between winning and losing in this league. Would you have believed that in 2019 to 2022? I bet not. It's time, though, to embrace it. This Kansas City squad isn't the powerhouse it once was, and it does rely on health, detailed execution, elite game planning, and even luck to get the job done. There's no button to push that saves the day. The third story is Patrick Mahomes reflects on getting major NFL nomination. The Kansas City Chiefs can brag about having perhaps the best quarterback and best player in the National Football League. Still, they take even more pride in the fact that Patrick Mahomes also happens to be a born leader and someone who's always looked to give back to the community. That's why it's not a surprise to see the future Hall of Famer being one of the finalists for this year's Walter Payton Man of the Year award. When asked about that, Mahomes talked about how honored he was to have the opportunity to give back to the community, stating that he grew up with plenty of opportunities, so all he wants is for other children to also have a chance to develop and fulfill their potential. Mahomes has partnered with several associations not only in Kansas City, but also in his hometown, making sure he puts that historically large contract to great use by giving back to the community. Needless to say, he's always done quite well financially, and the fact that a guy like him is willing to go the extra mile speaks volumes about his integrity and leadership. Notably, the Chiefs will need that leadership to be at an all-time high for the remainder of the season, as they've kind of hit a brick wall and look far from the powerhouse they were last season. Then again, if history has taught us anything, it is that you can never count out a guy like Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter how bad things get. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs still can't seem to put together a strong performance on both sides of the ball. The defending Super Bowl champions suddenly look vulnerable as they've fallen behind three other teams in the race for the AFC's top playoff seed. The Chiefs started slowly for a second straight week and lost 27-19 to the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night for their third defeat in 5 games. Kansas City fell a game behind Baltimore and Miami and a half game behind Jacksonville, which hosts Cincinnati Monday night, in the race for the AFC's best record and lone first-round bye. Catching up to the other AFC heavyweights could prove challenging. A defense that has ranked among the league's best all season kept taking hits Sunday rather than dishing them out. Linebacker Drew Tranquill left with a concussion in the first quarter, and safety Brian Cook was carted off the field with an ankle injury in the second half. If either player misses substantial time and the defense takes a step back, it will put even more pressure on Mahomes. The two-time MVP has shown plenty of times he's capable of carrying that burden. That was evident last week when the Chiefs rallied from an early 14-0 deficit to win 31-17 at Las Vegas. But after Kansas City gave up touchdowns on 3 of Green Bay's first 4 possessions, Mahomes couldn't bring the Chiefs all the way back. He threw an interception in the fourth quarter with Kansas City trailing by 5 that set up a field goal for the Packers. Still,